What did you see from them there, Legs?
Yeah, listen, the bottom line is this. They shared the burden. I mean, that's what it's going to take in a game like this. Who is going to step up and make a play? And I thought the one thing the Bucks did in overtime, they had 3 guys make plays that were totally in their comfort zone, as opposed to the Nets, who were relying on Kevin Durant literally every single trip. I thought Giannis Antetokounmpo, first, not settling at a key time in the game, getting multiple dribbles, taking a smaller Kevin Durant down to the post, to his sweet spot, a little jump hook there over the front of the rim. And this is a great job using his leverage and using his strength and not settling, not fading away, going up strong, not worried about getting fouled. And then on the other end of the floor, this is one of the best rim protectors in the NBA, and Brook Lopez makes maybe the most important defensive play of his career, tracking Kevin Durant to the rim, coming all the way from the weak side, making the play. And then the biggest shot of the season for the Bucks, Chris Middleton. And again, where does he get? He gets to his sweet spot, that mid-range 15 to 18-foot area of the floor. Great job taking a smaller defender, Brown, down into the lane, spinning away, and getting into that range that he loves so much. This was a game that completely was a war of attrition. Now, who was going to be able to hang in there and make plays? Now, most of the night for the Bucks, it was Giannis by himself, but then Holiday and Middleton came up in a big way offensively to help him out in the fourth quarter. And then in overtime, the final score of overtime was 4-2. That's it. You just saw the only 2 buckets the Bucks needed were right there at the end of the game. So it really comes down to sharing the burden, and the Nets shorthanded. No Kyrie, James Harden, a shell of himself. Kevin Durant having to do it possession after possession for an entire game against a really physical defense in a really physical game. It was just too much for him in the end. But what more can you say about what he did? He was superhuman in this game. It just was one possession short.
It's funny because you were talking about Giannis and his supporting cast and guys stepping up on that side. For KD, you almost felt bad for him watching him because the ball was in his hand every time, but it was almost like it was 1-on-5. Just put in perspective what you saw from KD throughout this series.
Well, listen, first of all, you got to remember, Kevin Durant, as great as he is, Kevin Durant, is a slightly built guy, and he doesn't have a lot of weight behind him. And when you're talking about what I thought was the most physical game I've watched all year by far, when you talk about the amount of physical contact that was allowed tonight on ball handlers, on finishers, even guys getting into the mid-range area of the floor. When you play that way, you play 53 minutes, and you're hounded by a guy like P.J. Tucker. You're hounded by a guy like Chris Middleton. You're hounded by a guy like Jrue Holiday. And then, by the way, if you get by them, you got to deal with Giannis Antetokounmpo, a defensive player of the year, and Brook Lopez, one of the best rim protectors in the game. And he still dropped 48 points and still made every key play he had to in the fourth quarter. So it's really hard to put into words what I just watched out of Kevin Durant. You think sometimes guys get to this stage of their career and you've seen the best that they have. And I think I just learned there's actually even more there still for Kevin Durant that we haven't seen, because that is as well as a guy can play in a pressure situation against that kind of defense stacked against you. And you said you felt sorry for him. That's exactly what I felt after the game. When that final shot came up short, I felt bad for him because he's out there having to make every play, every trip for the entire team. It's interesting. On that last possession, he actually threw the ball to James Harden as they were crossing half court with about 15 seconds left maybe. And then he realized James Harden is not the same James Harden. So Kevin Durant had to run across the floor to get the ball. If that's a normal James Harden, maybe after, 52 and a half minutes, you think, hey, James, can you go get a basket right now? But it was interesting because he ran and got it back. It's almost like he realized, wow, I really am out here by myself right now because there's nobody capable on our team of creating any offense. And then he comes up short. So, yeah, you feel bad for him. This was a year in which all these teams faced all these injuries and all of this. And he, as Steve Nash said, obstacles. You thought going into the year was a foregone conclusion, Nets, Lakers in the finals. Injuries did these teams in. The Milwaukee Bucks are standing here healthy at the end. They added a third star in Jrue Holiday. And, man, did they need every bit of 3 stars to get themselves to the conference finals. And there they are. So it's a sigh of relief for them and just exasperation and exhaustion on the part of the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.